Charlie, you said on the show a couple of days ago, and I think Danny Briere said it, he is expecting the Flyers to have a quiet trade deadline. I do think there are trade possibilities that this team has. I wanted to break down some of these trade possibilities on today's episode of the Shootout, Chuck. There are a couple of guys at the top of this list to me that are dark horse possibilities in Emil Andrae and Bobby Brink. Now, we have said time and time again, these types of guys I would like to see go in packages that bring back roster players who improve the team, not just picks, whatever. But while that's more likely of an off-season thing, it's not impossible a team with maybe some young depth and prospects that they'd be willing to part with ahead of a playoff run is maybe in the market for a puck-moving defenseman or, an undersized but pretty well battle-tested winger in Bobby Brink. Do you see that at all? Like, I think it's a low-end possibility at best, but I do think it exists.
Yeah, and I would be open to that. Like, I don't think I would trade either of these guys for a draft pick only package unless someone was willing to give up a first, and I don't think anybody
like an
would.
Unprotected first, sure.
Yeah, if somebody wants Bobby Brink and they're offering a first round pick, I'm taking that all day. I just don't think anybody would.
No.
Now, I would be open to a package where it's like a draft pick and a prospect who is relatively close. Like if, say, somebody wants Emil Andrae and they're willing to offer, a second round pick and a B prospect. And I know he's had a really good year for Boston, so maybe this is being a bit too optimistic, but like a Fraser Minton level prospect where he's probably going to be a 3C, but 3Cs are valuable in this league. So if you can get one for Emil Andrae and get a pick as well, sure. That would be a package I would consider for someone like Andrae or someone like Brink. Now, are those packages out there? Maybe not, but I think it's at the very least worth checking to see if some of them might be, especially because both those guys are young guys. They're young guys who, it would be easy for another team to sell their fan base on, we bought this guy, but he's not just a rental. He could be a piece.
Yeah. No, and we talked about this, I believe, on Tuesday's show, though. The thing I think preventing this most is the stature of these players, not exactly what teams are typically looking for in terms of ads at the deadline. I think back to Derek Grant and Nate Thompson, maybe more those level of, maybe more that kind of guy teams are looking for, but it's not as if they're not fairly decent NHLers who you could throw in a pinch. And listen, if they're your depth that you could move up and down the lineup, you could do a lot worse than these guys on your third pair, your bottom six or whatever. But I don't see it as a high-end possibility, but I am very much open to the idea because if you listen to Wednesday's show, I want to open up some roster spots. And this is someone we discussed on Wednesday, Charlie. Nick Seeler. He is in the second of his 4-year deal. He does have a no-trade clause, which expires on July 1st. So if they were looking to move him, it would be a lot less complicated to do so after the season. And overall, I just doubt there's a big appetite to move him at this point. But doesn't he just feel like a guy you would get way more for at the deadline than you're expecting? He hasn't played in the playoffs since his rookie season, 17-18. He has played 407 regular season games, blocked 875 shots, and dished out 646 hits since he last played in the playoffs. I feel like the dude just kind of deserves it. If I was him, man, a team would kill for a Nick Seeler at the deadline. Price dependent, obviously, but I would say almost every freaking playoff team would be Nick Seeler, that's a guy we would want to add.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I think he is absolutely viewed around the league as a playoff type player, a heart and soul type guy, exactly the kind of guy you want in the trenches with you in a 6 or 7 game playoff series against a rival. 100%. The no trade clause makes it tough because I don't get the sense that he wants to leave. So you'd have to go to him and, hey, maybe he's open to it, but then it cuts down on your options because maybe there are only 3 or 4 teams that he'd be interested in going to. And if 2 of those teams aren't interested because of cap reasons or they already have their defense or whatever, then suddenly you're not getting back what you would want to get back to give up a guy who's still useful for you now.
Yeah.
To me, this is more of a next trade deadline opportunity, I would think. But look, you always guys like Nick Seeler, and I love Nick Seeler. I enjoy covering him. I enjoy watching him. He's a good player. I really like his story. You never make these types of guys fully untouchable. If a team calls you and it's like, hey, we're interested in Nick Seeler, what would it cost? But you have to say, hey, he's got a no trade clause, as you know, or we'd have to talk to the player. But what are you thinking? Make us an offer. We're not going to be like, no, sorry, hanging up the phone. Nick Seeler's untouchable. That would be insane. I just don't know how likely it is at this deadline because of the no trade protection.
Yeah, and that would complicate matters. The one thing I was thinking of, and again, you'd have to go to him, get him to waive. Maybe he's got a list of demands, and it's, yeah, I'm only going to one team, and it's, a team that's not in the playoffs, and you're like, well, they don't want you.
Or it's like Colorado, and
yeah.
Colorado, and then you call Colorado, and they're like, yeah, he's a good player, but we don't need him. We'll give
Yeah,
you
we're
a
not.
5th-round pick for him.
Yeah, what do you want? Like, we're not giving you anything.
Yeah.
I will say the one reason I'm a little interested in this, and I think it came off on Wednesday's show, like I'm not a big Nick Seeler fan. I really, like, he's my kind of player, man. If he had a little more offense, he does lead the defense in shot attempts, which annoys me to no end about how unwilling some other defensemen are to shoot.
It's fair.
But the reason I am kind of interested in moving him if possible, and like again, I want something good for him. I don't want to just give him away. Is we talked, I want to go back to when we had the conversation about the Christian Dvorak contract extension and how you pointed out the one positive that then everyone freaked out about, but it was literally just saying one thing that might be good. This should make the boys happy. Like, a guy that they like and has fit in and has helped the team is now being rewarded, and he's going to be here for at least 3, if not 5 more years, Since then, the team has taken a nosedive, Charlie. It has not worked to pump up the boys. I have said after several post games, maybe this locker room just needs a shakeup. I am not blaming late season collapses on Nick Seeler. That's freaking silly. He's a good player, but like, oh yeah, it's his leadership that's led them down the hole. I'm not saying that. I am saying simply, if this locker room did need a shakeup, man, this works to create a spot, not just on the blue line, but a spot for a leader to step up into that I think could have benefits down the line for this locker room.
Yeah, I just don't buy that because look, I'm not saying Nick Seeler isn't liked in that room. He is. He's a respected veteran. But I don't think he is the type of personality that is crowding out other guys from stepping up. Like I'm in that room. I'm watching Cam York take a bigger leadership role this year. I'm watching even Jamie Drysdale take a bigger leadership role this year. There are some leaders in a room that do suck up some of the oxygen, that they block out guys from stepping up. Like, no, and I'm not saying this is a negative against Claude Giroux, but like there were guys who didn't want to step on Claude Giroux's toes while he was captain, so they didn't step up. And then once he left, guys like Scott Lawton, and Lawton loved Giroux, but he stepped up more in Giroux's absence because it no longer felt like he was going over him to go talk to a guy and say, hey, get your stuff together. I don't get the sense Sealer's like that. So I don't think removing him is going to like open up room for someone to step up because I just don't think he's that type of person. Now on the ice, sure, you trade him, that opens up a spot. And that's just math. It opens up one of the 6 every night spots for a young player. I just don't know who's really ready that I think has the potential to be impact. Like Oliver Bonk's the one guy. Bonk's a righty shot. I think Risto's the guy you got to move to get Bonk up at some point. That's that solution. Yeah, you've got Hunter McDonald. Yeah, you've got Ty Murchison. You got some guys like that. But like their ceilings are third pair guys. I'm fine to have them toil away and wait for an injury call-up opportunity rather than like, oh man, we got to trade Nick Seeler because we really need to see Hunter McDonald. Like he's not that important to me,
He's important to me, damn it. I want to see Hunter McDonald.
Okay.
I feel like he is what we never got. And like, listen, Sam Moran was a first round pick, so it's a little different. Hunter McDonald was what, a 5th or a 6th?
6th, yeah.
But damn, I just feel like I never got Sam Moran and I got ripped off, and I want Hunter McDonald to be that guy, and I want to freaking see him. So maybe somewhere down the line, and that gets us. And like Seeler, again, low end possibilities. Got the no trade, and they really like him. Noah Juleson, though, Chuck. If you want the coach to play younger guys like Andrae or Murchison when he's healthy, Hunter McDonald, whoever, take away the coach's toys. Just do it. like we always say in Moneyball, like, well, guess what? Your first baseman's gone, so
Can't start paying you tonight.
yeah.
Well, I'm starting paying you. Well, you can't because I traded him.
Yeah. Hatterberg's starting. Like, if you want Emil Andrae to get some more ice time, if you want to see some of these younger guys, take away Noah Juleson from the coach and trade him. It's not as if Juleson's going to fetch you anything, and that's the case with, I think, some of the other guys left on this list. But I will say, I know we're not in subtraction mode anymore, and they have a ton of, like, first and second round picks in the system who haven't made their way here yet. Martone, Luchenko, Nesbitt, Berglund, Bonk, all the second round guys from the last couple of years. But they have spent some assets lately. A sixth to the Sharks in the Ellis Grunstrom trade. It's not nothing. It's still got some value. That's why someone wanted it. They spent an extra first to draft Nesbitt, a second and fourth go in the Zegras trade. You do it every time, but it is something you spent. They gave up a fourth and a sixth to get Grabenkin and the first from Toronto. So you got something back, but it's still two other pieces. Wouldn't mind restocking a little bit with some of these lower end guys. Noah Juleson, one of them. The other two, and again, don't know what the market would be, but teams get dumb around this time of year and want big smash dudes. Hathaway and Delorier. They have both been traded at deadlines before. D'Lo went from Anaheim to Minnesota in 2022. Hathaway, Washington to Boston in 23. So it's not like there isn't precedent for this sort of thing. I'd be very interested in being able to figure out a way of that Hathaway contract. I think that complicates it a little bit. D'Lo expiring deal. Maybe someone just wants a fighter because they're, oh, we're gonna see Florida 3 times down the stretch. Let's have that guy ready to go. You think these are possibilities?
Well, I think going back to Juleson, if anybody, like Juleson to me is the biggest no brainer this deadline.
Yeah.
Unless the Flyers like put themselves back into the thick of the playoff race, like you sell Juleson. If you can get a 5th round pick for him, yeah, you sell him. If you get a 6th round pick for him, yeah, you sell him. Like, he's on a 1-year deal. He's not a long-term piece. He really isn't even an every night defenseman. If somebody wants a depth defenseman, throw him Noah Juleson. Like, I would be, if they turn down deals for Noah Juleson, I will be disappointed. Like, if somebody the only justification I can have for keeping Noah Juleson at the deadline is if nobody wants him. Because if somebody wants him, throw him a Noah Juleson. Put Noah Juleson on a playoff team. That works. So sure. Juleson to me is a no-brainer. Hathaway and Delorier, like, Delorier is a fighter, and maybe a team would want a fighter like as a scratch in case a series gets out of hand and just be able to throw him in for a game. They want to have that in their back pocket. He is on the last year of his deal, so maybe somebody's interested in Delorier. I can't imagine that they would turn down a deal for Delorier. It's not like he's playing every night. It's not like he's even playing most nights. Hathaway's tough because he's not on an expiring contract. That's the tough part. Like, if he was on the last year of his deal, I think someone would trade for him. Even with as much as he struggled this year, they would be like, you know what, playoff type guy. He brings the energy, and maybe he finds the fountain of youth once he gets back in the playoffs, and he just has that last little burst of energy, and boom, he's back to the Garnet Hathaway from 2-3 years ago that everyone in the league would want on their fourth line. The fact that he's got one more year left in the deal, though, Bill, like, I don't know if anybody's going to want him. Like, I'd make him available. Sure. You know, if anybody wants him, give us a call. But that second year, like I'm thinking in my head that they may have to buy him out. And if that's the way I'm thinking, I'm not sure why another team would trade for him for the luxury of then this offseason thinking, do we have to buy him out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And like even covering 50%, it's like, well, that's like a buyout without the extra tackle on. Maybe if you covered half of his salary, because it's not a ton, someone might be interested. It's not in any way prohibitive. But you know, he's just having a bad season. And given his age and playing style, it might not just be a bad season. The last guy on the list, Charlie, is the one that's going to drive me nuts. Rasmus Ristolainen. And it is for the very simple fact that, again, we talked about this when I think it was DeMarco put out the report, like, we're not selling Risto, but if you want to call, make us an offer. The price remains high. If they didn't, now that's just what you do. It's how you negotiate. You use the media, get your message out there. Cool, fine. But if they didn't get anywhere close to their price last season, the phone did not ring, and he's been hurt like 3 times since then, why would you get it now? Move him, get whatever the hell you can get, take the roster spot in the cap space as a win. Like, just for those interested, 50% retention on a trade would cost them $2.55 million against the cap next year. With a buyout of the last year of his deal, they'd save about $2.7 million next season, but then he'd count 1.3 against the cap in 27-28. If you just cover the 50% and trade him for whatever you can get, it's 1 year, it's $2.5 million, and then you wash your hands.
I don't think they would buy out.
Do it.
I don't think they would buy him out. I don't think that's on the table. Look, if they don't,
you're paying him not to work either way.
Well, I think their hope is that he won't keep getting hurt. That, you know, these 2 years he got hurt, but that next year he can be healthy. If they don't trade him, the reason why they don't trade him is because they're looking at it as if he stays healthy next season, we will be able to get more for him as an expiring contract at next year's deadline. That will be why.
And if he's on LTIR all year, you're paying him not to work. Like, this idea, well, if he stays healthy, if I can eat a whole pizza and lose 10 pounds tonight, I'll be a miracle worker. But, like, one of those two things is going to happen, and it ain't going to be the losing 10 pounds. like, it's just, yeah, man, this guy who's in his 30s, who keeps getting hurt repeatedly, he's going to stay healthy. That is a ridiculous thing to think. Maybe it happens and they get lucky, but banking on that, running your organization on crossing your fingers, that is a thing that makes me question the foresight a little bit. And listen, I like the job overall Danny Briere has done. It's going to take longer than we all want, but I think he does have a plan. I know I keep saying people are like, oh, he doesn't have a plan. He does. You just don't like it.
Yeah.
But like, that would make me think, like, what are we doing, man? And it's not going to make or break, you know, the quote unquote rebuild, whatever. But it's just, it's annoying. It's annoying to me, Charlie, the idea, well, if he stays healthy, yeah, and in what world is that likely? Not the contact sport he plays, where he continually gets hurt and will be a year older next year.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, if you get an offer of a second round pick, you take it and run with it. If you get an offer of a third round pick, you know, maybe you try to hold out for a little bit more, but I ultimately would probably take it. They might be thinking, and maybe their thinking has changed recently, but they might be thinking that they don't want to sell low because they think that they could get more at the deadline next year if he plays the entire year and just looks like normal Risto, and then as an expiring contract, they can get a first round pick for him.
I guess I get it. I think it's dumb. I think that's a dumb way to think, simply because it seems far more likely that we get the other outcome than we get a guy healthy who hasn't been healthy in 3 years. All right. That is all the time we have for you on this episode of The Shootout. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, follow us on the PHLY Sports YouTube page. Make sure you hit that like button. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast wherever you get those. I am Bill. That's Charlie. Thank you to Brenna. Be excellent to each other.